What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies and I love collecting movies, and there is no better day of the year to collect movies than Black Friday. So it is 5:30 in the morning. I've got some Red Bull. I'm outside of Disc Replay. They open in 30 minutes, and I want to be one of the first people to walk in the door. Now, should I be the first person to walk in the door? Technically, yes. I got here about 20 minutes ago. However, it's 30 degrees outside, and I'm not willing to stand outside the door. So eventually, like 5:50, I'll go stand outside the door. You don't care about all that. You care about the deals that I'm about to get. Well, right now, this Disc Replay is doing a buy one, get one deal on all Blu-rays and 4Ks in the store, and that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm excited about. Plus, the other day, I traded in a bunch of movies that I had doubles of or just extras of that I didn't need anymore. Traded those in, and they gave me $75 in store credit, so that's actually what I'm going to use today. So I'm very excited to see if I can use all of the $75 and just get a ton of movies. That's my plan. That's my goal. I'll let you know what I walk out of there with when I get done. Alright guys, I hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I hope you ate a ton of food and then you had some pie, because you can't have Thanksgiving food and then not eat pie directly after that. Doesn't matter how full you are, you have to eat pie. And then I hope you went out on Black Friday and you found those deals that you were looking for, whether they were Black Friday movie deals or they were just other kinds of deals that you needed in your life. I hope you found what you were looking for at a good price. But on that note, if you did go out and you did find movies for your collection, I would love to know what you picked up, whether they're VHS, DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks, or even Steelbooks. Let me know what you found, because everybody has their flavor of things that they like, and I'd love to know what yours are. With that said, I did pick up over 50 movies this Black Friday season, and I'm excited to share those with you, but I've got them separated into three categories. The first category of movies are movies that I've not seen. I can't confirm whether or not I like them or dislike them, but I was like, you know what, these are movies that I probably should have in my collection as a movie collector. The second group of movies are movies that I've wanted to put in my collection, but I was always like, well, I don't want to pay full price for this, but now that I had that buy one, get one deal at Disc Replay yesterday and all that credit we talked about earlier in this video, I was like, okay, now's the time. And then finally, the last group of movies that I have in here are the movies that I think I got the best deal on this Black Friday season, and I'm excited to show you those. So with all that said, let's jump into my 50 plus movies that I picked up for Black Friday. The first one right off the top is Crash. Now, I have not seen this movie. Like I said, this first group of movies is going to be movies I haven't seen, but it won all those awards. It's got a bunch of people in it that I recognize, and I was like, you know what? It's time to buy this movie, put it on my shelf, and eventually, on a rainy day, watch Crash. Next up, guys, I got Brick Mansions. Now, Brick Mansions, I know I've seen the opening couple of scenes for this movie. I believe it's officially Paul Walker's last movie. It released after his death. And so I'm excited to give this movie a watch. I really love Paul Walker and everything that he did in the past. And so, yeah, I needed this for my collection. Next up, we have The Raven. The Raven might be the last John Cusack movie before John Cusack movie just did straight to DVD no matter what. Like, I don't know what's going on with his career right now. But as far as The Raven goes, of course, it's about Edgar Allan Poe, and there's like a detective spin on it. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching The Raven. Next up, we have Birdman, and this is a really cool case, actually. I hate this. I hate the sticker. I'll never understand why they were like, hey, let's put non-removable stickers on top of things. It annoys me. But I like the inside. That's a pretty cool inside. And something else I noticed yesterday is that red case. And you guys know, for whatever reason, when they mix up the case, when they're able to change the color of the case, it just gets me all kinds of excited. And so, yeah, I mean that in a dirty way, too. But, yeah, Birdman, I'm excited to watch this. I know it had a ton of Oscar contention. And did it win Oscars? 7 Golden Globe Awards, which we all know was rigged, so maybe it didn't win any Oscars. The point is, I'm excited to check out Birdman. Next up, guys, we have Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder, a movie I thought I owned. I don't remember not owning it, but then I was like, have I not seen this? And I can't remember anything about it, so Days of Thunder, I now own it. Next up, guys, we have Straw Dogs. Straw Dogs is a movie that I know absolutely nothing about, but it's a movie that I always see on the shelves of Disc Replay, and I'm like, you know, one of these days I'm going to want like a sadistic breaking and entering movie, and that's what this looks like, so I picked up Straw Dogs. Next up, guys, we have The Legend of Zorro. Yeah, I've actually never seen the Zorro movies with Antonio Banderas, or have I ever seen any Zorro movie? I did hear once that Quentin Tarantino kicked around the idea of doing a Django versus Zorro or Django and Zorro team up, and I would have watched that all day, but as it stands, that's never going to happen. And so, yeah, I picked up The Legend of Zorro. how he got the mask. I don't know. Next up, we have Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life. Now, I know I've seen at least a couple scenes for this movie. I think Daniel Craig's in this movie as well. So Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Next up, we have Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey. And I know they released this on 4K, and I know there was a great deal at Best Buy for it this year. There was like a 4K edition for $10. And should I have done that? Probably. But again, I got to buy one, get one deal. And I was like, all right, well, I've never seen 2001, A Space Odyssey, so I now have it, and I will watch it eventually. Next up, we have Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Yeah, as much as I love the Robin Hood story, and I have every other version of Robin Hood, I've never seen this one, and I didn't own it, so I picked it up yesterday. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'm looking forward to Kevin Costner being Robin Hood. Next up, we have Runner Runner. Who's playing who? Yeah. So it's a car about every year or every 2 years we get a gambling movie where there's casino chips involved, and that's what this movie is. It's Ben Affleck and Justin Timberlake, and I've never seen it. And I was like, all right, well, most of those are good, and I like Ben Affleck a lot. Not a huge fan of JT, but you know. Next up, we have Southland Tales. There, I could speak. Southland Tales. We have Sean William Scott and The Rock. And I couldn't believe I've never seen this before. And I was like, what is this movie? And I picked it up, and they wanted $6 for it. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to pick it up. So it's a Richard Kelly film. I don't know who that is. But yeah, Southland Tales. I picked it up. Next up, guys, we're almost out of the movies that I haven't seen, so I'll be able to elaborate on some of the other movies when we get into those. Next up, we have She's Out of My League. This is a movie that says it's the funniest movie since The Hangover. And The Hangover came out at that magical time where comedies were still allowed to be comedies. And so I picked this up, and I'm hoping it's really funny. Next up, we have This Is 40, and it says the sort of sequel to Knocked Up. I don't know if I've seen this. I feel like I've started it, but I don't think I've seen this. But it's got Paul Rudd, so I had to pick it up. Next up, we have Young Guns. Now, I picked this up for two reasons. One, it's a cowboy movie, stars a bunch of people that I recognize, and I was like, okay, I've heard a lot of people say great things about this. I'm going to pick it up, right? That's the number one reason. But the number two reason is that I realized the other day I do not have a single movie in my entire collection, which is over 1,000 movies, that starts with a Y. I do not have a single one. And I was like, well, that needs to change. So I went to the Y section first when I got to Disc Replay yesterday, and this is the only one that I could pick up. Like, there were a few others, but I was like, no, I don't want anything to do with those. So I now own a movie that starts with the letter Y. I don't know, it's important to me. Okay, last one from the stack of movies that I have not seen, and that is U571. Now, U571 has an interesting past with me, even though I've never seen it, and that's because when I was a kid, my family went to a hotel. Now, I don't know why. There were like 10 kids, and there were at least 7 of the kids involved with this trip to a hotel. But we all went to a hotel, and we got 2 separate rooms. My mom and dad had a room. The rest of us had a room. And we begged my parents, please, we love war movies. Let us rent U571 for like $10 on the hotel's TV. And they were like, no, absolutely not. And then we're like, maybe. And then no, absolutely not. And so I never saw U571. But now I own it, and now I can watch it whenever I want. I don't know if it's any good, but there it is. Okay, those are the movies that I have not seen that I'm adding to my collection, and I will do my best to watch several of them, if not all of them, over the next year. Next up, though, guys, we have the stack of movies that is going to be the movies that I have seen that I wanted to add to my collection, and I was always like, when there's a deal, I'll pick these up. And the first one right off the top is Will Ferrell in Semi-Pro. Yeah, this is a movie where he's a basketball star. Definitely not Will Ferrell's best, and it's a lot of, like, you can't watch too many Will Ferrell movies in a row from this era because they're all just running together eventually. Just like, oh, he's the same person, just doing something a little bit different. But I remember the campaign for this movie. They were really campaigning hard, and I remember this, like, the ads for this were great. So I really enjoyed the lead up to this movie. And I remember liking it, but I'm going to have to give it another watch to sort of say where I would put it in my Will Ferrell ranking. Next up, guys, we have Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale. Yeah, I didn't own this, and I didn't realize I didn't own it until the other day. I was going through the K's, and I was like, why do I not have A Knight's Tale? I thought I owned that. And I looked in the DVDs that I have, and I didn't have it there either. So I now own A Knight's Tale. Next up, guys, Mortal Kombat Legends Scorpion's Revenge. So I've been on this thing lately where I've been picking up different Mortal Kombat movies. Like, their animated movies are so good. You have the original Mortal Kombat movie, which is great. And then you had Annihilation, which was not great at all. And then skip all the way forward to 2021's Mortal Kombat, which I'm on the fence with still. I liked it more than I disliked it, but still there were problems I had with that movie. And I'm looking forward to the next movie where they're bringing in Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. But the point is, during all of this, they've been dropping these animated movies for Mortal Kombat, and they have all been incredible. It's like exactly what Mortal Kombat needs. It needs that animated style, but I'm not a gamer, so I don't want to sit there and play it. I just want to watch it happen. And so that's what we have here, and they do such a good job with it. Scorpion's Revenge is a damn good movie. I recommend it. Next up, guys, we have a movie I've only seen once. I saw it in the theaters, and it's Bruce Willis in Surrogates. And this is a movie, I believe, where, like, you can have other people take over your body, or, like, you can put your mind into another body that's not being used yet. I think that was the plot. I saw it once. All I remember from seeing this movie is that I snuck Taco Bell into the theater and ate it. That's all I remember. I ate horse food Taco Bell while I watched that movie. That's what I remember from that movie. Next up, we have Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And this was one of the few movies that I actually upgraded from DVD to Blu-ray with. And I know there's a 4K version floating out there, but not everything needs to be upgraded to 4K. And I'm just happy to have a Blu-ray copy to put with the rest of my Blu-rays at this point. Next up, guys, we have Tomb Raider. This is the 2018 or 2019 version of Tomb Raider. I saw this. I did a review for it on my channel. You can check that review out. I had an enjoyable time with this movie. I thought it was fun. I thought Walton Goggins was a perfect villain for this movie. And yeah, while I haven't actually seen the older Tomb Raider movies, which I now own and I will get into eventually, this movie, I was like, okay, I need to pick this one up. So I now own all of the Tomb Raider movies. Next up, guys, I'll just do all three of these at once. All the flavor at one time. We have Night at the Museum. We have Night at the Museum Secret of the Tomb. And I forgot the name of that movie. And then Night at the Museum Battle of the Smithsonian. And I don't know which is the order, the correct order. I don't know. I'm not even going to look at it. Look, so I bought these movies because I really enjoyed these movies when they came out in theaters. Had a good time with them. I did try showing my kids the first Night at the Museum a couple of months ago, and they wanted nothing to do with it. And I think it was on Disney, or it was somewhere streaming, and so I tried showing them. They were like, yeah, this isn't interesting. So I think a couple more years, they get a little older, and I think they'll really enjoy these, so I'm looking forward to showing them to my kids eventually. But yeah, I picked up those three movies. Next up, guys, I'm going to show you both of these at the same time. Horrible Bosses and Horrible Bosses 2. Here's the thing. I already owned these movies, and I loaned them out. And it will be the last time that I loan out any of my movies. It's just, I'm not loaning movies anymore. I've been burned too many times. Somebody still has my copy of 12 Angry Men, and I'm angry about that. But with Horrible Bosses, I did have both of them. They both had slipcovers. They were both brand new, and I loaned them to a friend. I was like, you got to check these out, and I never got them back. And so now I've got them for my collection, but no slipcovers. Kind of irritated by that still, but it is what it is. We move on. We move on. If you loan something, you're willing to get rid of it forever. That's the way you have to live. Otherwise, what are you doing? Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the next one. The next one is Matthew McConaughey in Failure to Launch. I remember enjoying this movie, and that's all I remember. I remember watching it once and enjoying it. It's got Sarah Jessica Parker, so I couldn't have enjoyed it that much, but I do like Matthew McConaughey. This was before the McConaissance, so yeah, Failure to Launch. I got it. Now, real quick, I need a Red Bull break. I know normally we're doing tea, and I told you it would be back, but it's not back today. We need a Red Bull. It's been a long weekend. Look, I put that tree up, so you can look at that tree while I drink Red Bull. And yeah, if you notice, that's Tom Cruise's face right there. All right, let's move on. Next up, guys, we have Super Troopers. And I don't know if I'm going to keep this slipcover. It's pretty dirty. It's got a lot of stickers on it. And the cover for the movie, not bad at all. So I may not even keep this slipcover. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll keep it for now. But that could change. But Super Troopers, yeah, it's a hilarious movie. Again, it's when comedies were allowed to be funny, and I really enjoy this movie, and I finally picked it up. I've just been pushing that off. Again, another movie I was like, I need a deal on it, which is all the movies we're talking about right now. Next up, we have The Truman Show, and this wasn't necessarily a movie I needed a deal on. It's a great movie, but my disc replay always wants like $8 for it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm willing to pay $8 for The Truman Show, but it is a really good movie. Picked it up on a deal. Glad I have it now. All right, next up, we have a movie I talked about a little while ago, and that is Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I got this purely to fill out my collection. That's the only reason I bought this movie. I now own the second Mortal Kombat movie, the terrible Mortal Kombat, the worst Mortal Kombat movie, the worst thing Mortal Kombat's ever put out, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And I saw somebody on Twitter the other day was like, you know, this wasn't really that bad. Like, have you watched it? because that makes me question if you watched it or not. All right, moving on, we have Nobody. Nobody was a really fun movie that came out in 2021. I had a great time with it, from the same guys that brought us John Wick, and it's just a hard-hitting, badass movie starring the guy that plays Saul from Breaking Bad. So if you haven't seen Nobody, you need to check it out. It's a really good time. Next up, guys, we have Blades of Glory, and actually, well, the first copy I picked up was $5.99. I was like, all right, I guess I'll get it. But then I found this copy for $3.99, and the case actually looked like it was in better condition. So I was happy about that. So Blades of Glory, I now own it. Very excited about that. Next up, guys, Den of Thieves. This is a movie that's actually getting a sequel next year. There's a part 2. Like, they teased a part 2 at the very end of this movie, and now we're getting that movie next year, and I'm very excited about that. This was a fun shoot-'em-up movie about a bunch of guys doing a heist, and I enjoyed it. So Den of Thieves, if you haven't checked it out, you should, and there's a sequel coming out to it in 2024. And I have one more thing to talk about. So, the movie Den of Thieves, right here, there's the Blu-ray, right? Well, in this spot was this disc, but this disc is not Den of Thieves, it's God of War. And I don't know what to do with this. Like, do I take it back to disc replay and be like, hey, you gave me my movie, but you also gave me God of War for the PlayStation 4, and I don't want it. So, here. I don't know if they'll take it back. We're going to find out. I'll update you guys on that. I probably won't. Okay. Moving on, we have The Lazarus Effect. Now, this wasn't a very good horror movie, but I was so disappointed with the horror section at my disc replay yesterday. It was either way overpriced for stuff that didn't belong costing as much as they were charging for it, or it was just like The Lazarus Effect. So I picked this up. I wanted some horror mixed in with my Black Friday stuff this year. There's not a lot of it, but Lazarus Effect, yeah. I had an enjoyable time with it, but I admit it's not a very good movie. But it does have the guy from The League in it. What's his name? I don't know. But it's got the guy from The League in it. And it's got Evan Peters. So my wife will watch it. So there's that. All right, moving on, guys, we have There Will Be Blood. Now, listen, when I was a kid, this movie came out right around the time that Saw 2 came out with the tagline, There Will Be Blood. And so when I saw a movie called There Will Be Blood, I was like, hell yeah, we're going to watch this movie. It's going to be awesome. And there's going to be blood everywhere. And then there's, like, no blood till the end. And I've always had that issue with this movie. And then I saw it yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I need to stop being a weird kid snob and watch this movie and appreciate it for what it is. So I picked up There Will Be Blood, and I'm going to give it a fair shot. So I have seen it. That's why it's in this pile, but it's definitely a movie I need to go back to really appreciate it. It's like No Country for Old Men. It's a movie I need to go back to really appreciate it, because when I was a kid, I was like, well, this movie sucks, but I know it doesn't. I just need to go back and watch it as an adult. All right, last one. No, not the last one. We've got quite a few more that are on the list of movies that I picked up at Disc Replay to just fill out my collection. The next one is Lara Croft Tomb Raider. So I know I've seen this all the way through. I know the graphics aren't very good, but it's Angelina Jolie as Tomb Raider. I was going to pick it up. Okay, now I own all the Tomb Raider movies. So I'm happy about that. Next up, guys, we have 17 again. And I bought this for two reasons. I did see this when it originally came out in theaters, and I had an enjoyable time with it. It's Matthew Perry and Zac Efron, and I had a really good, enjoyable time with it when I watched the movie in the theater. And it's always been a movie that just sits on the shelf, and I'm like, maybe I'll pick that up. I don't know. And then with the passing of Matthew Perry, I was like, if I see a copy of it, I'm going to pick it up, because eventually that's just going to be extremely expensive just because Matthew Perry is now passed. And so they had it for a deal. I picked it up, so now I own 17 again. And it's a very clean case. It's very important to me that, if I pick up a copy of a movie, even if it's one I really want, and the case is just disgusting, or the cover, like the paper is gross or torn, I don't pick it up most of the time. And so this movie looked real clean. So I just want to point that out too. Appreciate whoever owned this before me. Appreciate how clean you kept your collection. All right, next up, guys, we have George Clooney in The American. And listen, every once in a while, I'm in a George Clooney mood where I want to see him do that dumb smile and basically be Mr. Perfect. And so, yeah, I picked up The American. Next up, guys, is a movie I'm not proud of having in my collection. Not even a little, but it's Fast X. Oh, man, this is one of the worst movies of the year. It'll probably be on my worst movies of the year list. I think I even gave it a positive out of the theater review, but because it was better than 9. But that doesn't make it a good movie. It's just better than Part 9. Oh, man, and the way they ended this with the bridge and all the dam coming down on top of the dam and making you think that, oh, he killed the rest of the crew. He didn't. We know they're coming back with 11 and maybe even 12 at this point. So Fast X is now in my collection. All right, guys. So the next movie is a movie that I didn't realize I just assumed I had it and hadn't looked for it in a while. And that is Spider-Man 3. Now, admittedly, this is the worst Spider-Man movie. And again, let's go back to Twitter. In the recent days, I've seen people be like, hey, Spider-Man 3 was actually amazing. And I was like, Are we talking about the same movie? Have you watched it? It's Spider-Man 3. It's not a good movie. It opens with a dance number. Tobey Maguire does that weird thing.
Gonna cry?
Anyway, the point is I picked up Spider-Man 3 and now it's on my shelf. All right, guys, the last movie from Disc Replay that I picked up and I wanted on my shelf is Basic Instinct. Now, I have seen this movie. It's been a long time, but this girl is killing people and she's doing it in a very sexual manner. And so I picked up the movie. So yeah, I now own Basic Instinct. Okay, all right. Now we're going to get into the movies that I'm excited to talk to you guys about. The rest of the movies, I was excited. I'm not lying. I was excited to show you these. But these are the movies I got the best deals on. And these are the movies that I'm very excited to show you. So the first one right off the bat is going to be Knock at the Cabin. Now, I do have an issue with how they end this movie, and mostly it's Shyamalan's fault because he's always been twisting us the whole way. Like, he's always been like, here's the Shyamalan twist, here's the Shyamalan, and then in this movie he's like, the twist is that there isn't a twist. And so it's just very straightforward, and I wasn't a big fan of that. But the performances in this movie were excellent, and the first 2 acts are great, and I found it on 4K at Best Buy for $10, so I had to get it. Next up, guys, I have the Pierce Brosnan collection. Now, if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge fan of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. I think they are the best collection of Bond movies. But after that, the next best collection is the Bond that I grew up with when I was a kid, and that would be Pierce Brosnan's Bond. And I've never owned the collection, but I was at Barnes & Noble, and they had this collection for, I think, like 40% off for Black Friday. So I picked up this Pierce Brosnan collection. I only owned Die Another Day before this, so now I moved that to the spot where I keep my movies that I'm going to like store up and sell next year. And now I own all 4 of the Pierce Brosnan movies. And yeah, I enjoy Pierce Brosnan as Bond. I think he does a great job. Moving on, guys, we have the 4K edition of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This is one of the few movies I didn't do a review for on my channel this year, and I don't know why. Well, I saw it with my kids, so anytime I see a movie with my kids, I'm like, hey, I just want to enjoy the moment with my kids, and I'm not going to do an out-of-the-theater review, and we were on vacation when we saw this, so then when I came back, it was like, all right, jump to the next movie and review that, and I never got a chance to review this, but it is one of the best movies of the year. It's my favorite animated movie of the year. And I know there's some of you out there like right now freaking out because I didn't say Spider-Man is the best animated movie of the year. And I've got my issues with that movie. But I really did love this movie. You know, and I wasn't even a Mario kid growing up. Like my son is. He 100% is. He knows all the characters. He loves them. He's got the games. He's got the toys. He's got the puzzles. He's Mario obsessed. I never was. But that's the power of this movie. Like, even if you weren't Mario obsessed as a kid, you will love this movie. My kids enjoy this movie so much. And it went to Peacock, and we've watched it on Peacock several times since it came out. But there's something wrong with the way that movie looks on Peacock. And it's not my TV because it's only for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I don't know if any of you have seen that. If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. There's something wrong with the color grading. Something's wrong with it. And every time they have it on, I'm like, yeah, the colors look terrible in this because of what I saw in the theater to now. Like, the transfer is terrible to Peacock. So I'm hoping the 4K edition looks beautiful on my screen. I'll find out soon because the next time they're like, hey, we want to watch Mario. I'm like, everybody, let's go watch the 4K edition of this masterpiece. It really is a lot of fun. I loved this movie. It will be on my end of year list. I'll just say that. I'm not going to give anything away, but my end of year list will more than likely include Super Mario Bros. I'll be shocked if it doesn't. Okay. Next up, guys, we have the Barbie movie. And yeah, in my review, I said, is this a movie I'm going to buy and put on my shelves? Probably not. And I also said in my review, hey, is this a movie I'm going to rewatch anytime soon? Probably not. But I found it for a great deal at Best Buy. I picked up the Blu-ray edition, and I now have Barbie. All right, next up, guys, we have Evil Dead Rise, another movie that I wasn't super psyched about. While I do enjoy this movie, and I had a decent enough time with it in the theater, I felt like the third act just completely fell apart. But again, huge super sale on this movie, so I picked it up, and I now have it at least to put with the rest of my Evil Dead collection, and that's important to me, filling out that collection. Next up, guys, we have Creed 3. Excellent movie. Absolutely loved this. Thought Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan did a fantastic job. Michael B. Jordan did a great job with his directorial debut. I love this movie. Can't wait to watch it in 4K. Next up, guys, the next deal I have is Stephen King's The Mist. Now, they wanted $40 for the Steelbook, and they wanted close to that for this edition, which is just like this 4-disc super 4K edition. That's how much they wanted for that originally. And I didn't pick it up because I was like, I love this movie. It is a fantastic movie. And then I saw the green for this case, and I was like, oh, I want it so bad. However, I wasn't willing to pay that kind of money for a movie that I've already owned on DVD and then Blu-ray twice. Like, I wasn't going to pay $40. And then Best Buy was like, yeah, but for $11, we'll give it to you. And I was like, hell yeah. So this might be my favorite of the pickups because I really wanted this, but I wasn't willing to pay full price. And then I got this for $11, and that was a great deal. So the Mist, yeah, I'm glad I have it. It also has the black and white version of it, and I'm looking forward to watching it in black and white too. Okay, the last deal that I have here, I guess I had 4 categories. I lied at the beginning. We're going to talk about those in a second. But the last deal I got was The Flash. Now, The Flash is a really good movie. I enjoyed it. I know the CGI had its problems. I'm curious to see if they cleaned up any of that CGI on the 4K cut. I don't think they poured any more money or effort into this movie, especially with the cut we got in theaters, so it's probably the exact same. But man, for my money, getting to see Michael Keaton one more time as Batman and the way they ended his character's arc, oh, I loved it. He said, I can bring you back. He said, you already did. Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. So The Flash, I'm looking forward to watching that scene again. Moving on, the last couple movies we're going to talk about here. Admittedly, these are not Black Friday movies. These aren't deals that I got on Black Friday. I bought them in the month of November, though, and so we're going to talk about them. The first one I picked up, I had Amazon deliver it, and it is Air. And when Amazon delivered it, this is how they delivered it to my house. Yeah, extremely annoying, but it was undamaged, which I was very happy about. And yeah, Air. It's the feel-good movie of the year. It's going to be in my top 10. Loved this movie so much. Next up, guys, picked these two up on the exact same day. The first one is Saw X. Picked this up when it came out because that first day, it's a couple dollars cheaper than it will be the rest of the month. And I knew there wasn't going to be a Black Friday deal on it, and so I went and picked up a copy of Saw X. Didn't have the best time when I originally watched this movie. I saw it at a drive-in, and they started the movie way too early, and it was still light out. So the first, 30 minutes, I could barely see the screen. And then people were turning their headlights on the whole time, and I was like, this is the movie that officially I will never go to another drive-in again because of this movie. This is the one where I was like, okay, never again. I will never go to another drive-in again based on the experience that I had here. I mean, I had an enjoyable time for the drive-in with my wife. Nice. But I didn't have an enjoyable time watching the movie, which was the reason I was at the drive-in in the first place. So now drive-ins, they're dead to me. But Saw X, it was decent enough. I think my experience will be better getting to watch it down here, getting to watch it with all the lights off and just enjoy the movie. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But as it stands, I had some issues with this movie, and it was sort of just because of my experience. All right, the final movie we're going to talk about is the 4K edition of Oppenheimer. This is 3 hours of just glorious filmmaking. Christopher Nolan has outdone himself. As much as I like to say The Dark Knight is his best movie, and you can see the poster right there, as much as I love that movie, as much as I absolutely love Inception, and I say that might be his best movie, Oppenheimer just might be his best movie. I've only seen it once, saw it in theaters, had an enjoyable time with it, did not feel like that long run time was felt at all. It kind of sped through it, honestly, and there was so much to take in, but not so much that you got lost, which was an issue I had with his last movie, Tenet, where there was so much to take in, it was all these new concepts, and by the end of the movie, you're just kind of lost, like, I need to see this 6 more times before I really understand it. But with Oppenheimer, I didn't get that at all. With Oppenheimer, I just had this experience where I was like, this was incredible, and I cannot wait to watch this on 4K. Talked to my wife because she loved it too, and I was like, okay, over Christmas break, we're watching this movie. And by Christmas break, I mean I've got some time off of work and she has some time off of school. I was like, we're watching this movie together. We're going to make a movie night out of it. Oppenheimer Round 2. That's going to be the name of the movie. So keep an eye out for that because we're going to do a whole video on it here for this channel. And that's going to be the last movie in my collection to talk about here today. Guys, if you picked up anything on Black Friday, like I said before, throw that in the comment section down below. Let me know what you picked up. Let me know what kind of deal you got on it. Or hey, maybe just like the last 3 movies we talked about here, maybe they were just movies you really wanted in your collection and you used this time to pick those up, because that's what I did for a few of these movies. With all that said though, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. It helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. All right, guys, we got to the end of my Black Friday Blu-ray collection update video, and I had a blast making this video, had a blast finding all these movies. I was excited to talk about them here on the channel, and now I'm excited to go catalog them all on my shelves back there. But I tell you what, guys, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got all of my Blu-ray collection updates right there, and I've got all of my 2023 reviews right there.